we'll start inshallah the Maqasid al-Sharia. Maqasid al-Sharia will do the chapter page 193, precision and determination in Islamic legislation. نوط التشريع بالضبط والتحديد. طيب. He's saying rahimahullah, قال, I have already shown that one of the most important characteristics of the Sharia in associating its ordinances with specific meanings. So he said, that the Sharia, as we have already studied, that the hukum turn around and rotate around the attributes and the meaning, the wisdom, the reason for which the hukum is established. Now, in this chapter, he will show us that the attributes, the meaning, the wisdom, the reason, it might not be something easy to come to except for the rooted of knowledge who can discover it. So the Sharia makes some, ضوابط, as he said, ضبط وتحديد, restriction, determination, precise things, so to kind of put in a standard way that reasoning or wisdom. So we don't let people, like everyone will have his own wisdom. No, the wisdom of the Sharia can be found out or can be known by those who are rooted in knowledge. But the Sharia comes to make it easy, to not burden people to get to that point. So they make like kind of siege, kind of a cover to, in a way, to make it precise and defined. Kind of fencing this reasoning, this wisdom, with certain definition that is precise, so it will be equal for everyone. I'll give you an example before we start. When we come to the children, some of them, they are sharp at 7 years old. Other at 7 years old, they behave like 2 years old. Now, we say they start to pray 7, 10, and then we say the puberty. So we have a variety from 7 to 13, 14 between girls and boys, which is like very different. It might be from from gender to gender, from society to society, from kid to kid. In all this, the reason or the condition is for the child to reach an age who can understand what is being told and to understand that he's responsible and accountable on his action. So instead to say the puberty, which is the puberty, which has kind of signs, for the female menstruation, for the thing, etc. So the Sharia make it precise, say 15 years. So puberty, when we come to say, they say 15 years. The majority of the scholars, they say 15 years. So 15 years is like a defining precision, like you make a fence for all that variety. You make it the maximum is 15 years, you'll find everyone at that level that you want. So make 15 years to be easy for everyone. Not everyone will check like you have to make like an interview for every child, when he gonna start to be accountable? Say 15 years. So this is what he's told, الضبط والتحديد. Precise determination in Islamic legislation to make things clear. So many people, they say, why in this? We understand. So that why is actually for the Sharia to make it easy on people. Example that he's going to give, the wine is haram. If you're gonna say when someone is going to be, for example, punished in the law of the Sharia, when he got drunk, this is cannot be determined, cannot be defined. It's really difficult to define. There is people, you know, maybe وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ 2 gallons of alcohol, he's still. The other person, there's people who's like, maybe if he smell it, he'll faint. So what you go, where are we gonna get here? So the Sharia make it defined. He say 1 sip, that's it. So this is apply for everyone. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, anything that intoxicates, if its big quantity cause intoxication, then the sip of it is haram. So the punishment to start from that sip. Not people, what they do, like put your thing and walk to see if, no. So that doesn't have dabt, doesn't have well precise hukum to have that equality in the hukum. So he's saying قال فبذلك قد نصبت العلماء أمارات التشريع بالأوصاف والمعاني. For the scholars, the أمارات التشريع, the ways, the signs of the legislation, are known by the scholar through the attributes and the meaning that we already studied, you know. طيب. ونصبت لمن دونهم, and for other people who do not reach that level of knowledge, they make for them hudud, border, boundaries, وضوابط, and kind of precise thing, restriction. تحتوي على تلك المعاني. So this hudud and these rules and this, you know, kind of coded things in a way that embrace or englobe those meaning and attribute and wisdom. As I mentioned, the example of the age of accountability. You know, the reason is for these young people to understand the responsibility that they have. He can understand that 7 years old as he can understand that 13 years old, but to make it all equal, 15. So the 15 becomes like the dabat, something to restrict to refer to, and it englobes everyone. So this is one of the spirit and the wisdom of the Sharia. طيب. قال وهي صالحة لأن تكون عونا للعلماء تهديهم عند خفاء المعاني. And also this restriction, this precision, this determination also help the scholar when they do not, you know, in the beginning, you know, the meaning or the wisdom behind the hukum, the ruling, it helps them to get to it. He's saying in the third paragraph, قال وهذا مسلك قد دق على كثير من الفقهاء. So this, you know, it's very fine and subtle, and it requires a lot of analysis among the jurists. قال, for example, Imam Malik in the hadith أخرجه ابن عمر قال البيعان بالخيار ما لم يتفرقا. البيعان بالخيار ما لم يتفرقا. Abdullah ibn Umar, both parties in a business transaction have the right of withdrawal as long as they have not separated. As long as they not have separated. So here you have the choice. So look at Imam Malik, you know. So if people they doing business, as long as they still transaction, someone he said, you know, I changed my mind. So he said, as long when they didn't separate, someone has to change his mind. But if they separated, that they conclude the contract, you cannot come back. But we say, as long as. So how long then? So for Imam Malik, it wasn't really defined with time. It wasn't defined, maybe if it's very short, then people, they didn't have the time to reflect on it. So Imam Malik قال وليس لهذا عندنا حد محدود. So we don't have really here a very precise limitation. ولا أمر معمول به. يعني أنه قد تعذر جعله أصلا في تشريع الخيار المجلس. So we cannot have this non-restricted kind of choice. It's not well defined to be for us a basis in legislating rules concerning this type of transaction. But that's for us not to get into the analysis of this ruling, but to say how the scholars, rahimahumullah, they go in depth to see, like, the Sharia has things that it need to refer to, and these things what referred to need to be precise and well determined. So if something has ihtimal would mean like people that are not sure of the reference that they refer to, he said then we should not have it as a basis in the legislation of the ahkam. That's why the scholar, you see them when they do the analogy, the qiyas, they refer to things very clear, apparent. Like, for example, intoxication. That's apparent. So they don't refer to things that are hidden. And it's being called by al-hikmah, al-maslaha, dar'ul mafsada, wisdom, maslaha, benefit, dar'ul mafsada, moving or removing the harm. ولقد تنزهت الشريعة عن ألا تكون أحكامها منوطة بالانضباط. Now this is very important point. The Sharia come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Sharia is purifying, or the Sharia was sure to be purified from anything that is not precise and determined. Because not being precise and determined and defined, that was the way of ignorance and the people of ignorance. That's the way. This is what he's saying here. قال therefore, when applying khiyar, the jurists, none of this, they're also explicitly acknowledging this. Anyhow, the Sharia categorically avoids imprecision in its provisions and ahkam. For this is a characteristic of the rule of the pagan ignorance. So the Jahiliyyah time, they didn't have things defined. This comes like only for their own whims. Like the waiting period that they have for the talaq, they didn't have a limit. So one wasn't precise. And what is defined and what is not defined, then it leads to corruption, it leads to transgression and injustice. قال وذلك ما جاء في القرآن. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was blaming those who hold their wives for a waiting period, and get it back. So it was, for example, the waiting period didn't have a limit. Then when it have limit to three quru, three periods of menstruation. Now, before the ending of the periods, he marry her back, and then he will divorce her. So to make an infinite waiting period. So this is hukum becomes dirar. It's like holding her to harm her. It's injustice. Then it comes the three talaq. So the three talaq is like have to have it moderate and just. So no one will transgress the other one. When it comes to the third one, that's it. You cannot even get her back. That's it. قال القاضي إسماعيل بن إسحاق لم يكن أهل الجاهلية يعطون الزوجة مثل ما نعطيها. For example, in the inheritance, the wife, she used to get nothing. وَلَا يَعْطُونَ الْبَنَاتَ مَا نُعْطِيهِنْ. And either the daughters, they don't get anything, or they don't get what the Islam gave them. وَرُبَّمَا لَمْ تَكُنْ لَهُمْ مَوَارِيثٌ مَعْلُومَ يَعْمَلُونَ بِهَا. And actually, they might not have actually the portion or the ajza or mawarith. They didn't have like everyone what he deserved, the right of the mawarith. When they have an inheritance, they distribute it the way they want, and not including the people they don't want them to be included. Why? Because there weren't anything defined before such a thing. ولا يستثنى من ذلك إلا أحكام قليلة مثل مقدار الدية في العامة. Very few things they were defined, like the diya, the ransom that's being paid for someone who killed someone, and he has to pay kind of a fidya or a diya. That was before defined. And when it comes to the money, they are what is like 100 of a camel. طيب. وجاءت أحكام الإسلام في تلك الأبواب كلها مبطلة للفوضى المتبعة. So kind of like you see like a chaos, things like unorganized, leading to error, leading to injustice. Islam came to cleanse and purify everything, have everything with reasoning and wisdom, but also put a fast of being precise and well defined for everyone to be easy to follow it. وما ذلك إلا بالضبط والتحديد. وقد استقريت من طرق الانضباط والتحديد في الشريعة ستة وسائل. And he said, I have made my analysis and go through, studying the path and the spirit of the Sharia, get me to the conclusion that there's 6 ways of انضباط, of precision and determination. The first one, قال الانضباط بتمييز الماهيات والمعاني تمييزا لا يقبل الاشتباه. The first one, as you see it here in page 195, is to define essences and meaning clearly in order to prevent any confusion. Saying each meaning is explained in detail together with its properties and effects, such as specifying the levels of kinship that qualify for inheritance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He give you all the details. So to say, the place of the father, the place of the mother, the place of the thing. Now, you see here, this kinship is based on, to be, loving each other, helping each other, being beneficial to each other. طيب. قال مثل طرق القرابة المبنية في أسباب وفي تحريم من حرم النكاح فتعين المصير إليها دون ما لا ينبضط من مراتب المحبة والصداقة والنفع والتبادل. How can you be just among this family if you want to implement the level of love, friendship, and whoever is, more beneficial to the other one? It's going to be difficult. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us witness to ourselves. He telling you, who's closer to you? Your parents or your children? Who's closer to you? Not closer to you. قال لا تدرون أيهم أقرب له. Who will benefit you better? Your parents or your children? If you think, of dua, who will benefit you better? Of caring, who will benefit you better? There's no answer. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, submit to the way I'm telling you. So the Sharia will give you wisdom and define for you the ansiba, that you submit to it, that will be well precise and determined, because if He will let it to us, we will not be able to be fair. I mean, your father someone's father, if he died, or mother, they take the sixth. If one girl, she take the whole half. Right? Say, so why the children are getting more than the parents? I mean, will be like unjust if you think, if you're going to do it yourself. If you write a will, you say, so the father will say, and the mother, I did this all for you, and this, you only put this. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will be the judge and settle it, everyone will obey. Now the wisdom in the Sharia, the money will be given for the new generation. The older generation, they're gonna go. So those above, parents and grandparents, they take the sixth. But those who are coming, they're gonna invest, they're gonna have families, they're gonna have things, they get the rest. So the wisdom of the Sharia to take something on precise and well-defined and have the maslahah for the whole society, not for that person who closer to you. And this is one that he said, الانضباط بتمييز الماهيات. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى آباؤكم وأبناؤكم, your parents and your children, لا تدرون أيهم أقرب لكم نفعا. You don't know who's among them is closer to you in benefiting you. فريضة من الله, this is farida, this is an obligation from Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He the all-knowing, the all-wise. وما الله سبحانه قال وما جعل أدعياءكم أبناءكم ذلكم قولكم بأفواهكم, those that you have as adoptive children, people, they love them more than their kids and they want to inherit them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, they're not your children. Love them, take care of them, but when it comes to the inheritance, it's totally different wisdom. So you cannot have your compassion, your love to decide. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decide. قال فلما قضى زيد منها وطرا زوجناكها لكي لا يكون على المؤمنين حرج في أزواج أدعيائهم إذا قضوا منهن وطرا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is specifying and settling this relationship with the families. Someone adoptive, he will live with you the whole life, is still non-mahram. It doesn't become a mahram. Those things are well defined in the Sharia. So when it comes to the marriage, when it comes to the inheritance, when it comes to the mahram, is clear. There's no that confusion. And this is how the Sharia made it to be clear. Made it to be clear, because if we have things to be what is the, let's say, the element or the aspect to use to determine this relationship on which we base many of the rules and the ahkam, then we'll be lost. If you're gonna use what you love, that's gonna be lost. If you're gonna use how close they you, or the one who helping you, say, Allah, when this person, when he was sick, he only find his daughter taking care of him. All the other kids, they're not there. So, I mean, if logically and to be fair, she needs to get the whole inheritance, for example. It happened, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defined it to be very precise. All what you do, because I had this question before. He said, that person, she get the whole reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reward is not the money of what he left. That's a trial. The reward is from Allah. So if someone will be taking care of his parents and none of the siblings were ignoring them, he will not say, I deserve the whole inheritance. No. He submit to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, but what he had done is in his mizan hasanat is tremendously that he cannot even imagine how much, or she imagine how great that reward. So this is, subhanallah, how is it precise and well defined. Because many people, sometimes they have this mistake to ask a question especially when it comes to the inheritance and things, say he doesn't have the right to do and things. And they told me this, and this person, he's the son, he didn't care about his mother and everything, and then he gonna have part of the inheritance. Said that's the wisdom of Allah. Maybe that part of the inheritance make him to repent, and he regret, and maybe subhanallah that would make him gonna be a righteous son. You never know. So let Allah's wisdom and ahkam, be implemented. That's what will bring the khayr, not our decision and not our, fragility and sensitivity who can make the ahkam. طيب. The Prophet ﷺ, when he asked the hand of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, Abu Bakr considering the Prophet ﷺ as his own brother. So he felt like, kind his uncle, kind of this relationship, it's kind of haram. So the Prophet ﷺ قال إنما أنا أخوك. Abu Bakr said, I'm your brother. It's possible to do such a thing. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت أخي في دين الله وكتابه. You are my brother in the deen of Allah and in the way of the book. And she is for me halal. وهي لي halal. And for the same thing, the drinking of the intoxicant al-khamr قال بحلول الإسكار القليل من مثله. So anything that intoxicates in big quantity, the smallest of it, the tiniest of it is haram. طيب. Things like, for example, he mentioned here قال, and things to not have been confusing for people. He want to come back here, said لا يقبل الاشتباه, that they will not resemble each other for the scholars, not for anyone. Because he's saying here, given the example, البيع والربا, البيع والربا, selling transaction and riba transaction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Allah make halal the selling, the transaction, business transaction, and made haram the riba. Why this specification? Because we say riba is far than selling, but in the beginning they both are financial transaction. But the first one, bay'a, it goes from both sense. You give money, you get something in exchange of the money. The other one, it goes only for one direction. You give money only, and you get back your own money with more money. Someone in need, because the transaction, when someone asks for a loan, look, subhanAllah, this is, you're going to sell a book. Say someone say, how much? He said, $20. 15, no. 20, take. You get 20, you give the book. Transaction, both parties are, benefit. The other one, he has the book that he's been looking for. The other one, he sold the book that he was looking forward to sell. The other one, he comes to say, I'm in need. So the base of the transaction is financial. But someone is in need, and the other one has the money. So the transaction here, you say, I'll give you 100, but you give it back to me 120. So the person in need, from where are you going to get the 20? So here the transaction, you say, from the beginning, the transaction will end. If he's in need, you say, I cannot give you. It ends there. Halal, no one obligated to give. If you give, you're going to help this needy person, to fulfill his need, or to help him, get his own thing, or satisfy his own need. So here is like helping, not transaction. But in the beginning, when you see it, in the beginning there's transaction. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, حرم البيع أحل البيع وحرم الربا, to specify that the objective of different transactions are totally different. One is halal and one leads to dhulm. طيب. The second one, الوسيلة الثانية قال مجرد تحقق مسمى الاسم. Here, the ضبط is just to say the name and the hukum is issued. Like the wine, for example. He said someone consumed wine. That's it. Is enough. You're not going to say how much and how many glasses. No, wine, that's it. Haram, haram. He took drugs. That's it. The hukum is issued. Why? Because he said, for example, when we mentioned how someone gets intoxicated, it might take time. It might take different quantity. And this is to make it precise, just one sip and it's gone. The same, another example that he mentioned, وكذلك نوط صحة بيع الثمار بحصول الإحمرار والإصفرار في أصناف التمر. The same for, when it is lawful to sell the product, the fruit, the product of the trees. When it happened al-ihmirar, when they have that redness, or that type, type where they become yellow, or for the type of the, ready to be consumed. So that's when it's ready, that's when the zakat becomes obligatory. So a lot of ahkam are related to that point. So when you say pay the zakat, when you have it, when? So the Sharia comes, he said, when is ripe. And when it's ripe, the people, they know when it's ripe. That's it. So it's precise and well determined. For example, another in a marriage and payment of mahr. When the mahr becomes the property of the bride. So I say, for example, they have shart al-mahr. They get together and everything, and but it depends on how they're gonna live. Maybe they're gonna everyone live in his own house, things, and then they change their mind. They want to get divorced. At that time, when the mahr, that mahr that they agreed upon in the contract, is the property of the woman. So here the Sharia, they say, is at that time of the contract, or after they get married, or after, So here the Sharia made it, قال وَلُوتُ تَقَرُّرِ إكمال المهر بمجرد المسيس. When they just get in any position, like, for Abu Hanifa, if they get a loan, that's it, the mahr becomes obligatory. The Maliki school in Masis, if they just touch each other, that's it. The mahr becomes obligatory. Full mahr. So this is how to be precise. So when it comes, when they have, they have like dispute and everything, the question is clear. If this happened, yes, mahr is for her. It didn't have, etc. So it will be clear. So to have, subhanallah, things clear, and the more are clear, the better the communication, and then, the way of the, let's say, the ahkam to have its impact on fulfilling the justice in the society. For example, قال ونوت لزوم العقود بحصول صيغها من إيجاب وقبول. When you make a contract, when this element or the item of the contract becomes obligatory, when they agree, إيجاب وقبول, Okay? Ijab wa qubul. Someone will offer and the other one accept. Offer, accepted, sign, that's it. That's the item of the contract becomes obligated at the time of the ijab and the qubul. Not send an email and send, and now did you read it? Yes, did you read it? But then you want to have implement some of the items and said, we didn't have our ijab and qubul. Officially offer and acceptance. The third type of at-taqdiru. At-taqdiru is like quantifying. I don't know how he said it here. And the taqdiru is, many of you already know that. Specifying amounts, quantifying. Example, the nisab of the zakawat, like the minimum level nisab of the zakat that we'll be studying in the fiqh. So I said khamsat awasaq here, and therefore the ghanam 40, for the ibil 5, for the cows, etc. So those are maqadir. And no one will say, why I have 5 camel I pay and the other person has 30 or 20 cows he doesn't pay. He said that's the Sharia said. It's determined. It's determined, precise and clear. And to not have enmity between anybody. The nisab in the punishment of the stealing, etc. المسافة المعتبرة في انتقال الولي المحظون عند بلد الحضانة. This is more details, concerning, the hadana, but this is being specified and determined. The fourth one, inshallah, we'll try to finish before Isha, and we take the break for Salat Isha, and we come back, inshallah, to do our next class. The fourth one, قال التوقيت. التوقيت is the timing. The timing, for example, for the zakat, whole year that need to be, fully consumed for someone to pay the zakah. Al-ila, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it to be 4 months and 10 days. 4 months. العدة المتوفي عنها زوجها 4 months and 10 days. قال والحول في بعض العيوب والشهرين في الإعصار بالإنفاق و4 أشهر و10 في عدة الوفاة والحول في سقوط الشفعة. And all of that are timing, determined time for many of the rules. الشفعة is someone, they are partner, and one he want to sell his part, and he will have the second, the partner, he will have the shuf'a, which is the right to buy the part of his partner. And if he will not act for a whole year, then the partner has the right to sell to whom he wants. So this is he saying, for example, suqut al-shuf'a. Suqut is the right of the shuf'a. Because if the partner sells to anybody else, the first partner, he has the right to cancel that sale for a whole year. So he has a year to act. After a year, he said it's late. So things like that, to contain the maslahah, to preserve the rights, but in a timely manner. Not, for example, in this case, someone he has, they have a business, and the other person he sold part of his business to this person. The first partner, he didn't care, so he have his no partner. But after 3-4 years, he didn't like this person. He said, I wish I have my first partner. Then I won't want to buy it all. I want you to buy you out. He said, no. So he'll go to his first. He said, I have the right to buy it first. So I want to cancel this sale that happened. He said, it's too late. When he comes to the judge, it's too late. You had the whole year to act. Things like that. So you see, preserve the rights of people for the first partner and for the buyer, because the buyer, when he buys, said, you have a partner, ask him first to have his agreement. I don't want, after 1 year, being, pushed out. طيب, this is al-wasila al-rabi'ah, is the timing. الوسيلة الخامسة قال الصفات المعينة للماهيات المعقود عليها كتعميل here he said things like related to what people they conclude a contract for it, determining the meaning of the things contracted upon, such as specifying the kind of work in hire and requiring a dower and a guardian for a valid marriage, all of that which is like things that are related to fulfilling a contract. For example, when you're going to have a contract of marriage, you need to have the wali. You ask for the wali. So those are well precise and determined. You say, this are the item of the contract. If this one is not present, we cannot do the contract, etc. طيب. الوسيلة السادسة قال consists of inclusion إحاطة and determination. The six means or ways are consistent of inclusion and determination. Example are the requirement for the cultivation of a wasteland. The wasteland are the lands who doesn't owned by anyone, and anyone who cultivate that land and bring it to life, it becomes his. But if you're going to have things like, for example, used for things that they might, annoy or disturb people or bother them, like using things and burning things, is going to have smoke. So I said, that's, you have the right to revive it, but with the condition to not have, if you want to do something, such a thing, you have to be far from the town, to get a land that is far from the town. He's saying here, is that it should be so far from the village or city that the latter smoke cannot be seen from it. Or actually he's saying Ihya ul-Mawat, which is, there's difference of opinion here. Also because when someone he get a land close to a town, it might be the property of one of them. But Ihya ul-Mamwat is like, go far from a place that no one is around that place. So mean reviving a land need to be far from a town, to the point that you cannot see the smoke, when they have cooking things, which comes from both sides. So someone cannot do something close to a town where they can bother them. But if he gonna have some land that it will gonna be his property, he need to be far from this town. So this is kind of what he called inclusion and determination. Then he said the prohibition, قال the same thing. وكمنع الاحتطاب من الحرم عند عدا الإذخر, logging in the sanctum of Mecca, and the stipulation that property should be kept in a safe place, hirs, to differentiate theft from pilferage, khilsa. Also, it's known that no one can take anything from the Haram al-Makki to cut any tree and everything. So anything related to that, so it's been determined. And things like, for example, in Hudud al-Hirz, for some scholars, what is the Hirz? is the thing that someone, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, have the intention to steal. To steal. When is called stealing? Because it can be khilsa. Khilsa is less than stealing. It will not have the punishment of stealing. Is the difference between them is the hirs. How this one is protected. So if something is protected, in a way require, effort to get to it. It require, violation to get it. That is the action of theft. If something is exposed and it's easy to take, someone is tempted to take it, that is called khilsa. So the first one, the hukum of the punishment will be implemented of it, and the other one will be lesser. So someone, for example, he dropped money and someone else took it, he said he stole my money. That will not be stolen. This is luqta. He can be reprimanded, ask, force to give him back his money, but he's not going to be punished. But if someone has the money in a safe inside his house, someone break the house, break the safe and takes, that is hirs. So that hirs qualify this action of being theft, then the punishment will occur. So these are, some of the, after his istiqra, rahimahullah ta'ala, mentioning the type of determination and precision in the way of the Sharia to make things clear, so they will be communicated in a very clear way and will help, of course, to have judgment, accountability being done on a precise and a determined. And believe me, this is one of the great things in the Sharia. When someone asks, you say 4 months, no less nor more. 4 months and 10 days, 3 months. This is so, it is very clear. And you don't have to say the wisdom, because the wisdom to get to 4 months and 10 days, the scholar, they wrote volumes on it. But when someone will ask the question, any person normally said, what is this for the waiting period for this case? 4 months and 10 days. You're not going to say why the wisdom and everything is clear. And this is what the author wants to share with us. And this is from Samahat al-Sharia, from the leniency of the Sharia and from the wisdom of the Sharia, to have it, well spread and easy to be implemented, inshallah. We'll meet you after Salat al-Isha, inshallah.